This is Ronnie Kovach, and recently I decided to go on a one-man humanitarian mission to Haiti. The point of this mission was to find out if indeed the medical supplies were being utilized at a children's hospital known as Hope, and then also to look for other areas outside of Port-au-Prince that may use additional help and funds to rebuild villages in the very, very near future. I had no idea of the amount of devastation and destruction that I would personally see. Estimates initially were about 200,000 people had died in the quake. However, once I was on the ground, local inhabitants told me that it was probably closer to 500,000. I was standing on top of a garbage dump in which my bodyguard Joel told me here was buried in this rather disrespectful place. Certainly wasn't consecrated ground. Over 200,000 bodies themselves were put into this dump, this garbage dump, outside of Haiti in one of the most dangerous ghettos on the island. So again, that was just stunning. What you see in many of the news feeds of the tent villages are not really accurate. Once you get outside of Port-au-Prince and outside of the model villages that you see with the United Nations tents and outside sanitation facilities, etc., you get into the villages that have received absolutely no significant aid from either the United Nations, Red Cross, or any other major charitable organization. People there are starving. They're in the first phases of malnutrition. The rainy season is on its way. They're looking at potentially not only typhoid and diphtheria, but of course the infestation of mosquitoes and malaria. I was in one village alone of 1,000 people, and they were trying to distribute 45 satchels of food and water for 1,000 refugees. Who was to get what? It was very hard to determine. And the so-called shelters, the tents in many of these villages, are nothing more than a sheet of cardboard or a sheet of plastic from a plastic bag. Children are laying on the ground sleeping, not on any type of fabric or mattresses, but literally on the ground. A 7-year-old girl was raped in one of these tent villages. She died on arrival at the hospital. A policeman was murdered. Again, they are screaming for help and they're not getting it. I saw very little presence of the United Nations when I was there. Most of the time they were leaning up against their armored personnel carriers or their tanks. I saw no peace-giving forces at all in the time I was in Haiti. Most of the law enforcement has been depleted with probably less than 3,000 officers for over 1.5 million people. When the quake hit, the jails were emptied with 3,500 rapists, robbers, and murderers on the streets now. I saw armed guards at simple convenience stores, paid mercenaries to make sure there wouldn't be any looting. Haiti is a very commercial country, and the little shops and the bodegas now are being run out of wheelbarrows and baskets, and yet commerce is alive. It's become sort of the heart and the pulse of the economy. The small merchant is trying to do the best they can. Even in some of the hospitals, the structures have been repaired and will withstand another quake. However, many of the people that are involved in the hospitals, the patients, and even some of the clinicians, the native Haitians, don't want to go back inside the structure. There's superstition, perhaps from the voodoo religion, that the gods may be angry again and it's dangerous. They remember the quake in January and simply would prefer to stay outside in tents that have become post-surgical wards, post-trauma wards, post-wound wards. It's amazing. Even with structures that are withstanding, the people still refuse to go inside in many cases. And there are many bodies still underneath the rubble of Port-au-Prince and all the villages around this once thriving city. I see many of the youth in Haiti on their motorcycles just aimlessly peering out across the streets doing nothing. I have no idea what these youths, these young men, will be doing in the future. The tap-tap buses, bright, colorful, psychedelic, reggae-flavored, are packed with people every day, but I have no idea where they're going. I see very, very little people in reconstruction. There is so much rubble, I wouldn't even know where to begin. You see very, very few crews working. It's almost as if this is a full resignation that this is as good as it's going to get. Again, the earthquake was non-discriminate. Government offices were leveled from the Ministry of Finance and Defense. The Haitian version of the IRS was flattened, and yet the inhabitants said they will still have to pay taxes. The earthquake was not selective. If a building did not have structural rigidity, it went down in less than a minute. Churches, schools, convenience stores, cell phone operations. Everything went down if it didn't really have the structural rigidity to withstand a quake of this magnitude. All gone. The church has become so critical for the Haitian people. The resilience of the human spirit and looking for some type of solace and some type of comfort from the churches was so prevalent there. All denominations, it didn't matter. Many churches were nothing more than an outside tent with a few scattered chairs and a makeshift pulpit. The churches and the schools are probably where the rebuilding has to start first. This is the whole spirit of the Haitian people. It was remarkable to see close to 100 students in a tent with 4 teachers, with a school that was absolutely level to the ground. Many of their classmates died in that horrible 60 seconds of hell that was unleashed on this island. And the students were there trying to do everything they possibly could to remain as students in a large tent with 3 or 4 instructors giving all they had in an area that was basically facing imminent starvation. The hospitals were amazing. Hope Hospital is an absolute inspiration for how money can be funneled the right way. Everything from making the best that they had with antiquated x-ray machines and drying x-rays out in the sun because they didn't have proper dryers, makeshift surgical wards, neonatal clinics, everything from OB/GYN to orthopedics, and not being even set up for triage or anything of this magnitude. And yet the hospital is thriving, and it is indeed healing people at a geometric rate. But they need more help. They're past the stage of just accepting medical supplies and pharmaceuticals. They need money now, hard cash, to rebuild the hospital. But the hospitals are amazing at what they've done, some of them starting only from a tent because that was all they had left in order to do everything from surgeries and amputations to wounds and burn recovery. Again, it's an amazing credit to the international team of doctors and nurses that came volunteering their time to work in the hospitals. These are true heroes. Joel Antoine was my bodyguard, speaking 3 languages, English, French, and Creole. And Joel himself was driving when he saw the earthquake. At first he thought it was the apocalypse, and fortunate for him, he was out of his apartment building, which was indeed devastated from the trembler. I've often heard it said that the endurance and the legacy of a culture isn't based so much on its military prowess, its science, technology, or its religion, but interestingly on its art. And art is alive and well as it's always been in Haiti. This is my own journal of my own personal trip to Haiti. I wasn't representing anybody, no organization. I went on my own to simply to do service and to gather more information. So again, these are strictly my views, my interpretation as both a trained journalist and a trained ethnographer. Ultimately, the big question remains, where has all the money gone? I remain suspicious and skeptical that it is going to the right places. As I mentioned, once I got out of Port-au-Prince, 20 kilometers, 12 miles out of town, I saw the true devastation that you don't see on the news feeds. I saw people that have received no aid since the quake hit in January, with malnutrition, starvation, and higher death rates soon to follow, unless something is done. I want to thank Craig Glover, the CEO at Sport Chalet, and for all their fine support in outfitting me for this particular expedition to Haiti, and for their own humanitarian efforts for raising 1.2 million donated shoes to take to this devastated island. Thanks, Sport Chalet. Good job. I want to give really special thanks to my dear friend Reverend Michael Beckwith, the founder of the Agape International Spiritual Center, for giving me the inspiration to, again, complete this mission on my own. And Catherine Scott and Pat Finn with Hope Hospital and all the work that they've done for the children has just been incredible. And, of course, my newest friend, driver, bodyguard, Joel Antoine. And for keeping me fed and healthy on the ground, I got to say thank you to Go Team Protein Drinks and organic food bars. God bless you all, and again, thank you for making this possible.